Okay, now for the most amount of wins in a weekend league, as I mentioned to you, by this time of the year, you should already know the best tactics for you. I've already made a video on this. I'm not going to repeat myself. We're going to go over the best 4-2-3-1 layout today. I think this is another variation of the 4-2-1-3, but you could argue a bit more on the defensive end, a bit more balance on the build-up play. And I still think a lot of you guys like to play. I think now with cams inside the game that have pace, you can introduce these players. So we're going to go through the full setup today. And then we're going to go through tomorrow the 4-2-2 setup with the 4-2-3-1s, because the 4-2-2s you can play because you have the 3 cams. And as long as you have a cam that can be a striker, you can very easily shift between these two. Do you want to increase your win rate just before team of season? We got the Division 10 to Elite Division series. All the videos are finally uploaded. We show you how to get from Division 10 to the Elite Division basic gameplay. No speed boosting, no mechanic abusing, no Trivella at all, because we want you to get there just with basic gameplay to show you don't need to mechanic abuse. If you want a mechanic abuse, that's fine. We want to show you how to play properly first and then show you what the pros do. What pros do is they use basic gameplay and then they mechanic abuse to get the top 10%. Not the other way around. They don't mechanic abuse first and then learn the basics. We go over complete in-depth tutorials. And don't forget, with my entire series, if you join now during team of the season, remember, if you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That is the nil guys guarantee. That is how sure we are. We've been running this for 4 or 5 years. We go over in-depth tutorials. We also go over pro gameplay analysis where we analyze the full professional player's game. We've got tutorials for everything, undefendable through balls, player locks, precision passing, precision shooting, everything that you could think of that goes beyond my YouTube channel. We've got the full defensive series, which defending series alone, just by watching that, I can guarantee you will improve. Patreon.com/nil guys. Links down below in the description. If you don't get better after 1 month, just send a message on Discord or send a message through Patreon and I'll refund your money. That's a nil guys guarantee. Don't believe me? Try it out. What have we got to lose? Less than the price for a KFC meal nowadays. Links formations quite seamlessly. So let's just go over it. We're kind of going to go backwards this time as opposed to going from front to the back. So the goalkeeper, I still put it on goalkeeper defend. As I said, at this stage of the game, if you've been playing sweeper for the past 6 months, you should be leaving it on sweeper. Do not just change tactics just for the sake of it. The only way, what I'd say, if you are going to change something that I recommend, I would say experiment in rivals before you start your weekend league. Now, fullbacks, as I mentioned when I first started, I said fullbacks defend. You should be now using fullback balance. I've talked about why you should be using. I'm not going to go over it again. But you can always trigger this player, their passing option. I'm leaning towards fullback balance all the time. The only way that I really change the fullback defend is if I'm going to be ultra defensive and close out the game. Whereas this will be a formation I would say is to start the game with a bit of a balanced one. You're not changing to a 4-2-2 yet because this is basically a 4-4-2. Remember, this is basically a 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1, except for you just got a cam as opposed to the 2 striker setup. That's something just to bear in mind for anyone that's new here. Now, deep line playmaker, you can leave these on holding or you leave them on deep line playmaker defend. If you haven't started your weekend league yet, I would definitely recommend deep line playmaker build up. I would strongly recommend to try it. You might actually really like it. Just don't do this because you're going to end up having 2 players in the middle, which actually works out for some people. But as I said, you don't want to be too experimental at this stage of the game. So maybe try build up play for both. If not, use deep line playmaker, defender, defend. Or you can use, for example, the holding defend. Now, the playmakers, the wide players, I've talked a lot about Shadow Striker. A lot of it is going to be down to can you defend. Most of you watching this video are probably maybe 10% of you will be good at defending and can defend with 4 players on stay forward. If you wanted to replicate a narrow, this is important, a narrow 4-2-1-3, then you would do something like this. You could play the counter attack in a 4-2. So this will be, hypothetically speaking, well, in theory, will be the best exact copy. The only difference is you have lambs and rams as opposed to left wings and right wings. A bit more centralized. Perfect if you don't like to go down the wing. Now, I would say the choice you do have is, look, you can make these players a half winger. I think the only reason why you want to use a half winger is if you like the 4-4-2s or you like the 4-2-3-1 wide, but you want to be more attacking. That would be the only use case I would say to use the half winger is if you really like the movement or if you like to play the 4-2-3-1 wide, 4-2-3-1 wide, important, and you want those players to be wide as possible. Because at that point, you might as well just play the 4-2-1-3 with left wings and right wings, or you might as well just play the 4-2-3-1 with left mids and right mids. So unless you're looking for the cam for that specific instructions, or as I mentioned, we're playing the 4-2-2 and the 4-2-3-1, and you haven't got these cards like I have. I'm very fortunate to have these cards that can play in multiple positions. They can play cam, right wing, right mid. You might not have that option. So if you don't have that option, that's just something just to bear in mind. I would say for most people here, playmaker is really the one to go with. If you want these players to be wider, use half winger. Simple. That's what you should be using. You want to make them wider, make them narrow, you should be using playmaker. Now for the cam, controversial one. I put shadow striker here. If you go back to my old school 4-2-3-1 tactics, do you see how this is basically the 4-2-3-1 tactics? This player is the heart of the team. I don't want to put this player on roaming. I know people have this, but I want this guy to stay there. I don't want his guy to move over to the right hand side. I want him to be behind the striker, in theory making runs beyond the striker. Now, personally, I like the shadow striker. Yes, they don't stay forward, but it's more of an attacking stance. They help build up the play. And of course, they're ready for the counter-attack and they run beyond the striker. I like it. Ideally, you want a plus here. In fact, I'd recommend for all these attacking roles, try to get a plus. We've been talking about this for some weeks now. What I would say, though, is playmaker balanced is the more balanced option of the two. This is the one where you can go into the game and you're not too worried about your cam being on stay forward. Because with shadow striker, they're basically going to stay forward like a cam in a 4-2-1-3 on a shadow striker. They're going to stay up front. So it's your job to bring the ball from the CDMs to the cam. Whether you use ping passing, whether you use quick tiki-taka, or mostly ping passing because that player will be a bit further away, that would be the way to go. We're going to create a tactic for every single one of these systems. Now, what's important, this guy is a second striker, okay? This is not a guy that's clunky. I wouldn't advise anyway. Someone that's going to sit there and pass the ball. I understand that, but think of this as a second striker. This is like a Pele. This is someone that can pass the ball, can take a long shot, can go inside the box, can dribble, can shoot. This is basically, in my opinion, a second striker. That's what I consider this. SS, second striker. That's what I consider it. I don't consider it a cam, especially when they're playing on shadow striker. Trust me, your player choice here, I can tell you from years from playing this formation, will make the biggest difference. If you're a finesse shot abuser, then you should be smart using some of the finesse shot. I'll be honest, if we're talking about playstyle, we're going to over playstyles for each position as well. Ideally, you want incisive, okay? Striker, you can have someone that can do a bit of everything. I've got Son, a bit on the taller side, but I've got support with a player behind him. And the Lamb and the Ram, the most important thing is pace. Do not think these players are central cams like center mids. No, these are wide cams. Remember, wide cams. They play like left mids and right mids. Even if they got the playmaker, even if you're not using half winger. So what I'd recommend here is most definitely do not put slow players here. At this stage of the game, minimum 90 sprint speed without a chemistry style. 90 minimum. I'll be putting Hunters in everyone. I'll trying to get 99 as much as possible because most left back and right backs have 99 sprint speed. You also want to match it for your attacking stance. So that will be it. That will be a team. So let's go now over as we're going through team of the season. I want to put this in detail now because I don't want anyone to mess up. We're not going to speed through this as we normally do. I want to make sure this is done properly. Goalkeeper, you want height, yeah? 6'6", I cannot say check he's garbage. I used them for my Division 10 to Elite Division Series. You can see that on my Patreon, actually. I think the play styles, I would say rush out would be the best, and then far reach. I would say combination for both of those would be very good if you can get that. If there's any team season players that come up. You know, there's a few TOTS players available now. Dembele, Horan, there's actually Barcola, João Neves, actually a few players to play for. So this will be a very challenging weekend league. In fact, maybe you could argue this weekend league would be a challenging test before we get into the Premier League. This is the first year, I believe, that you're on a Premier League on a second weekend league. But maybe that's a better thing because now you can be a bit more careful and a bit more wary on how you want to set your team up. For the centre-backs, I don't want to see anyone here below 90 sprint speed. Look, if you want to go ahead and get like the rank 4s, 5s, and that's fine. You want the best possible wins here, 90 sprint speed minimum. I'll be honest, 88 would be the absolute lowest. I would go with high defensive stats. I'm going 90. Listen, unless you're a top rank 1 player, your positioning is perfect, you don't get emotionally attached into the game, emotionally alter your decisions, and you don't run out with your centre-back, and your positioning is perfect, then you can veer around 86 sprint speed, 87 sprint speed. Don't tell me about no pro using 87 sprint speed. You're not a pro. It's like a professional F1 driver driving the Nissan Micra, or you're driving, I don't know, flipping the GTA 6, I don't know. The point I'm trying to say is, okay, they're professional players, completely different. They're not going to make those mistakes. They're going to know the racing lines in F1. Equivalent terms, they won't make it. So don't put anyone here that's garbage. Fullbacks, 94 sprint speed is what I'm going to say is minimum. 92 sprint speed without chemistry style is kind of what I would say would be the minimum if you're asking me, per speaking. Someone that can pass. I've got an incisive pass here with Mendy. I would say incisive pass, ping pass, tiki-taka. I think those are very good for these positions. I would say for this formation, especially the ping pass, or I would say a long ball. The long ball or the incisive pass to make those through balls in behind. I have Kadioglu. He's got quick step and incisive. I can't get him out of the team. He's that good. Now, for the CDM pairing, one I would say would always be one on the bit of the defensive end, and one is a bit more attacking end. So let's say if we have like a typical example, here we'll have a Vieira, and here we would have a Hullet. Now, ideally at team of the season, you should be having both the CDMs at 90 sprint speed, at least 85 defense awareness, minimum, I would say. But you can get away with 80 if you've got like an attacking player, like a KDB attacking, and then, for example, someone that's a bit more defensive. So one thing I want to quickly show you is when you are making this team here, go and find these players. So if I was looking for a CDM, like let's say I had to do a quick filter. This is like some Nil guys top tips, yeah. Let's say I didn't have time. I have to do some quick filtering. I'm going something like this. Acceleration 85. That's the these are the minimums. And I'll be using someone like here. I'll close my eyes and I'll choose anyone here. So Netty said a good cheap card. These players can do a very good job. You can always reduce the parameters, but you should have evolutions that are going to be as good. And if maybe for the attacking player, you don't really need a defensive awareness to be high. But what you'll be looking for is, for example, maybe you'll be looking for a long shot. So if you know you're going to be taking long shots, or let's say you're watching this and you take power shots, right? You should be, I almost put the wrong thing there. You should be going for players that, for example, have the very good shooting. You know, if, for example, you can't get the parameters that you want, this is how I find meta players. I reduce it and I open up the floor to more players. So, you know, if you're looking for the power shot play style, you'll then have to filter this. By this stage of the game, you should have listened to me. You should have already got the power shot play styles of players that you want. Like this Lampard guy, very, very good card as well. You can actually technically go with even lower defense awareness, but we'll get back into that maybe in possibly another video. But that's what I'd recommend for both these. If you can do, if players do a bit of both, I would say power shot, tiki-taka is very good here. Jockey play style is very, very good. For the defenders as well, I would say Jockey is probably one of the best. Jockey play style. Intercept is very good. Block is very good. I'm not really a big fan of Bruiser, but I understand why the masses like it. Bruiser is very, very good. If you're CDM with a Jockey play style, even better. So let me give you another No Guys top tip. Let's say you were to buy someone that haven't got good defense awareness. So at this stage of the game, Hullet is a very good card. Defense awareness is a bit suspect, but he's got a Jockey play style. So he's going to move quicker with the run and jockey. The max speed and run jockey is going to be improved. So that is something just to bear in mind. If you can get a CDM with a jockey playstyle plus, you're laughing. I got Militao with it. Guy's insane. Now, these players here, they're going to be a bit subjective. If you're the finesse shot taker, you will know this. How do you get guys should have in finesse shots? So obviously a right foot on left hand side. Same way if you're abusing Travellas. Now, these are for the rank 1 players here, yeah? Rank 1 players. If you're using Trickster, Travella, you will know this already. You need these playstyles. So whatever you're abusing mechanics-wise, because let's be honest, everyone is, I don't, but everyone else is going to be abusing mechanics in team season. People are going to run to the corner flags. That you're not going to be playing me. There's going to be playing nice, good football. If I lose, I'm like, okay, whatever. People are going to be playing like their mum is held hostage with a gun to their head. So you got to remember that ball's going into the corner and they're acting like they've got to pay 10 million ransom or they've got to win the game. So you need to put here players that you know you're going to be using. If you're using a finesse shot, the Travellas, you should be looking for those players that have it. I'll be honest, high-paced players here, good shooting, good agility and balance, someone that can run in behind, a rapid, a quick step, but also very, very good in these positions. And that's what I would recommend. You will know this more than anyone else. Same for the CDMs. Like, you know, if you like to use power shot, there's no point me saying use power shot if you don't use power shot. So use what playstyles you use. Now for Cam, if you want the biggest game-changing advice, put incisive. Incisive for your cam, I would say a pinged pass. And I would say a tiki-taka. Wanyeri does this very well for me. I like Wanyeri because he has that. He's got tiki-taka and he's got quick step. He hasn't got the pinged pass though. But I would say, in order, those are the best ones to use. I would say try to prioritize either. Like if you abuse here, power shot, again, you're abusing power shot, but try to prioritize here an incisive pass. I think for through balls, this is very, very important. If you're a mechanic abuser, you may want to do incisive in all these players. That way you can do first time through balls into the ground. Don't blame me if anyone asks you who told you to do that. But if you are going to be mechanic abusing first time through balls, you've got to consider that into account. Long ball is also very interesting, but I don't think you need the play style as much. I think with pinged pass and tiki-taka and incisive, I would say are the three best play styles from the passing standpoint to bring the ball from the cam to the striker or to distribute it out to the wide outlets on the wing. And then for the striker, I would probably go here with an advanced forward. I think that is the best one to go with. You want a striker that can do everything, a 5-star, especially if you use skill moves, I would say quick step rapid if you're going to be abusing those speed boosts, kind of similar to the wide areas as well. If you are abusing those speed boosts, I would say someone that's got at least a 5-star weak foot. I'm talking 92 sprint speed, 95 finishing, 95 shot power, and 95 finishing. That's kind of what you want. And long shots. Don't worry about the volleys and penalties. Let me give you another quick tip, right? The Galazzo evolution, if anyone's done that, you should have some really good GOAT players. Let me give you another tip as well. A lot of people don't know this, right? But let's say we're just going to put sprint speed. We're just going to put our 92. And then we're going to put, these are the most important stats for shooting, okay? So let's say I was to find a striker, shot power. I do a lot of this on a Patreon, so this is like some free advice for team of the season. 90 long shots and finishing. Try to get it higher, 90, like this. So I would say 92. Composure, 88. Reactions means nothing, but just to keep people happy, I'm going to put 80. But it doesn't make a difference, honestly. Reactions, people don't even know what reactions you mean. Anyway, look, you see some of these players, for example, right? You see 91 shot, and you might be, and a lot of people look at these cards and face value, and you think, oh, some of these cards suck. So, like, you know, you'll see, for example, Foden 91 shooting, or Fella. But what they will do is they'll look at the volleys and penalties, which are irrelevant. Irrelevant. How many times do you score a volley? Look, unless you're in the corner doing like a acrobatic whatever, and even with penalties, get someone else to take the penalties. Got high penalties in your team. Realistically, you're not going to get that many penalty shootouts. Maybe only a handful, right? Realistically speaking, these stats are irrelevant. So a lot of people, when they see 91 shooting, they think, oh, the card must be bad at this stage of the game, or it could have 89 shooting, and they might be thinking, but like if your volleys and your penalties are like 0, you know, the base card stat could be like 85. So ignore that. Forget that nonsense. Look at the real in-game stats. That's what's important. It's like finding out that a car is worth £100,000 and you figure out it's a flipping banger, but the only reason why it's worth £100,000 because someone put a bloody Gucci logo on it and it's flipping Gucci leather, which doesn't make any performance difference to the car. So make sure you look at the in-game stats. So important. But I'll be honest here, something like a rapid, a quick step for your speed boosters, a finisher, a low driven is what I really like, the low driven playstyle plus. In fact, if I had to make, I'm going to show you how I would make my ideal striker here. So this is where things get a bit tricky. I'm looking for a 5-star. We've already now reduced it to a handful of players. And that's what evolutions are amazing. And I'm going to tell you something a bit crazy. But we're going to now lose R9 because I want agility, but only I'm going to have this one there. And that is what I'm looking for in terms of my striker. That is the kind of things I'm looking for. That's the kind of pace I want. And there's not that many options. You can see there's only a few options I can choose from. Marmouche. That's why these players are pricey for a reason. This Ribery card, as I mentioned, he's expensive. He's worth the season pass for a reason. So that's why evolutions are something to consider. This Guru card is actually good, but the playstyles are a bit suspect. So a lot of you guys who don't have the real top tier coins, evolutions. For example, I have Sun here, and I got some. I wish you can actually show you stats here, but you'll get some of that crazy players there. So that is something I just mentioned to you. So when you're building up that 4-2-3-1. Also, when you are converting this into a full 2-2-2, you need one player that can play cam and striker. So I've got a few of these players. I'm going to move the camera for a second so you can see. So Appin can play cam, CDM, centre mid, and striker. I have another player on the bench as well that I can sub on. So Big is kind of going to be the middle player. This guy is kind of the universal player that can play cam as well. So when you are so remember, whenever you're choosing another formation, be careful what you're choosing as well. That's the code over there. 4 capital Delta, capital Quebec, capital Mike, capital Sierra, 9 capital Zulu, @ capital Charlie, 1 Charlie. Counter is probably the way to go. And then a defensive approach, I'll be honest, at this stage of the game, I'm using 70. The only reason why I'm going lower now is to close out the game. And the only reason I'm going higher is to press. I think for most of my formations, I'm using 70 depth. We've talked about this. If you've been following my videos for a few weeks, over time, you should have eventually be using 70 depth. That's why I was trying to progress it. That's why I was trying to introduce it in January a little bit and trying to get you so when we come around about this time, you're completely fluent and fine using 70 depth. Is very much definitely the meta. Do not use short passing with this. I would recommend counter for 99%. Balance, you will know if you need to use it, but I'd recommend, that's what I'd recommend. And that would be a tactic that I would say. And then you can just put shadow striker if you want to make this player more attacking, and that would be basically the 4-2-1-3. And I said to you, got to be smart on the player choices, because if we're gonna, on tomorrow's video, we're gonna be converting to 4-2-2-2. So you see these players can play these different positions and have the role pluses. So this is the problem. This is why evolutions were insane. Because look, you see all these stats that I'm looking for, yeah? You see all these, I'm going to copy all these stats. I'm going to copy all these stats here. Go to trending players, and let's say, let's go to players here. This is how you search the entire evolution tray. And let's say we do sprint speed. Let's say put 2. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to copy and paste all the attributes from before, and you see with evolutions now you have these god tier stats, which in these ones would have cost. This is why evolutions were the best thing EA did. They were honestly the best thing that EA actually did for such a long time. But if we just show you, look at the Neymar since we got him open up, we're just dribbling in the shadows. I might have to do that Neymar card, to be honest. I might have to do that Neymar card. I might have to. But anyway, sorry, apologies for digressing. But look, and if you want to do the major league, let's say, oh no, I want the major leagues though. Yes. And there you go, you got the major leagues. So you got this Sun card here. Now, granted, this card, look, okay, it's 400k, right? But if you evolved him all the way, you can get a card like this without spending the money. For 400k, you're basically getting a much cheaper card than what you'd want. And that's the thing, you know, if you don't need 5-star skill moves, you know, you can really increase the palette of players that's available. You know, if you don't care about agility and balance, which I do because I less dribble a lot, you can go with something like this, and you can even look. Let's say you can't find the players, you can slightly reduce the sprint speed. Personally speaking, I like a high sprint speed. The reason why is when I put a hunter on him, he's getting 99, so 91 will be the kind of the lowest I would go. I still always go 92. Bit of a, I'm not saying that's a proven thing that stats go beyond 99 rated, but I have a funny feeling that somewhere 99 sprint speed base is faster than someone with, for example, 97 sprint speed with a shadow or a hunter. Although that's one of the few things that I can't prove, so don't take my word for it. That's one of the few hearsay things that I would say that I kind of believe in, but I can't exactly prove it. But I do feel that, or maybe at least when the stamina is a bit depleted, I feel a bit more. But again, I can't recommend that because I can't say it. But you know, this Vitinha card, what a card, team of the season, not that bad price to be honest, 500k that just came out. So that's just a few things that I'm explaining to you, that evolutions are a very, if you want to be quite astute with your money, quite shrewd in your decision making, you could get some really god tier players and you could know what you want. And you can get stats like, you know, Pedro Lima, if you put him in Golazo, you got a goated card like this. You know, you could probably even edge to probably sprint speed. Let's say 94 is going to be only a handful of players here. And like this Marmouche guy. Like if you have him, you're laughing with this card. So that's just a few things you got to also take into account. So when you're making a team, making a formation, it's not only the fact that, okay, I've got this formation, this is how I'm going to set up, this I'm going to move into it. You got to also bear in mind, what are the formations am I going to play in a system? We're going to go over a 4-2-2 and a 4-2-1-3 variation. But if you know that you're going to be playing 4-4-2, you got to be like, okay, now I've got to find a player here. And this is the biggest challenging thing with this game. And this is what evolutions were amazing, because you're going to be like, okay, well, now I have to find a bloody Cam that can play right wing. Well, Ranieri can, but I need a Cam that can play left wing. And then it's a bit complicated, whereas I know this guy can play right mid, right wing, and I can move Bick to CDM as well. And for example, Son, I can just move to left mid, left wing, and I can put Appin in striker. So it's having that versatility and understanding who can fit in where. And that's one of the biggest challenges with this new role system this year, and something that I mentioned. Anyway, look, I hope you enjoyed this in-depth video for the 4-2-1-3. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this kind of explained and I kind of explored different ideas, what play styles to go. I know a lot of people have been requesting this video, but I didn't want to make a Nil Guys documentary every single week. Not only my voice can't last that long making a 4-hour video and writing down all the notes for it, it can take sometimes a tremendous amount of time. And who wants to watch this? Sit there and watch it. As usual, the codes are going to be on my Patreon for this one. But we'll have this full layout out tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. And of course, catch you next time. Peace out, boys. Best of luck in your weekend league. Take it slow. Spit your games out. Check out my other videos as well. And if you want to get better at FC, come to my Patreon. So patreon.com/NilGuides. We've got the Division 10 to Elite Division. Every single game from Division 10 to Elite Division, we show you exactly how to play. The controllers, we show you what buttons are pressing, no mechanic abuse. We show you that anyone get there with just basic gameplay and a few different changes in your performance. All right, thanks for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace.